who did the Carolina Panthers trade all the way up from 9 to number 1 to go get? And right now, the general consensus is it's CJ Stroud. And fascinatingly enough, going into the combine, we all thought it was going to be Bryce Young. That was when the Bears were still sitting there, and we were wondering who they might trade the draft pick to. Walk me through why Stroud is atop your mock draft board.
His accuracy is at the elite level. There are guys who I talk to who've been longtime college coaches who face a lot of good quarterbacks. They think he's the most accurate quarterback they've ever played against in terms of ball placement and some of the throws he makes. He's got good size. I think people maybe don't realize he played at Ohio State often over 220 pounds. He's 6'3". The Ohio State coaches were effusive for a long time about how football smart he is, what he can see. He's a good athlete. I don't think that gets talked about enough because he's been so good as a passer. He followed a great athlete in Justin Fields. But the people I talked to, and you can see this in the piece we did on The Athletic, they felt like, hey, maybe the guy he followed, we're not sure how well he saw it. There's no questions about CJ and how he sees it. The other thing is
it being the defense that he's trying to beat.
Yeah, and the biggest thing that I think, he played the closest thing to NFL caliber talent that you're going to see in college football in his last time out against Georgia in the playoff, and he lit them up, right? And so I think people saw how well he moved in there. They saw his playmaking ability, and to me, he checks every box in a big way. Whereas Bryce Young, a lot of people, there's a lot to love there, but the reality is he's still 5'10-ish, 195 pounds or so. And I think there are legitimate concerns about just durability from a long-term standpoint with him. There's a lot to love about Bryce, but to me, there isn't really anything you can be that worried about with CJ. Whereas Bryce, the durability piece of this, look, he's not Kyler Murray, but Kyler Murray didn't finish the year last year. And Kyler Murray is a lot more dynamic athlete. They're different quarterbacks, but they're both smaller guys, and Kyler Murray's actually a little thicker than Bryce is at this point.
Well, I mean, in the conversation I heard about Bryce Young at the Combine, and again, this is when he was viewed as the first overall pick in the draft. That was before CJ Stroud threw it around. And it's kind of funny how, wow, look at you throwing in the, at the Combine against no defenses.
Routes on air, yeah.
Right, and look how beautiful you throw a ball. As if we didn't see the game against Georgia, right? And that now is something that puts him atop everyone's draft board. But the conversation about Bryce Young, Bruce, was that I was hearing is name me a moment on film, on tape, in the SEC for Nick Saban and Alabama where his size was a detriment. Name me a moment where he didn't get up. Name me a moment where his durability was in question. And there were fewer and far between, and in terms of his size being a difference snap to snap, you couldn't really even point to one that he has a unique ability to overcome that, for the lack of a better phrase.
The one thing that did come up a little bit with some of the SEC coaches I talked to, look at what he played against LSU this year. He did not have this past year. He did not have a great game, and LSU has some elite, bigger athletes who can run, and that gave him a little more trouble than maybe some of these other defenses did. So I think, yes, I think he's a legit top 5 caliber player. But I think if you're talking about separating the two, if I was the Panthers, based on all I've heard, all I knew, I think it's just he's a lot safer pick, right? Lots of guys never get hurt until they get to play against, the different caliber human beings in the NFL all the time, not just, once out of every 5 games or so.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.